Hi, my name is Juliet and welcome to my space. And I don't mean my space, I mean my space. So, welcome to you to my fourth video. And in this video I actually got this idea from a comment that someone left, and it was probably an automated bot comment, but I got the idea anyways, and I really wanted to talk about it because I'm really interested in the topic and I thought it might inspire someone out there. So today I wanted to talk about books, not just any books. Self-help, self-improvement, self-development,
human growth.
Books. You might have heard of some of these and you might have not heard of some of these. These are books that really helped me. These are books that I really live by and I swear by, and have really helped me to change the way I perceive things and the way I live my life, and only for the better, not for the worse. Quick disclaimer, this is gonna sound really serious, but some of these books have somewhat controversial topics. Some people will find them somewhat controversial, and that's fine. I'm not here to tell you this is how I live my life, so this is how you should live your life. I don't want that at all for anyone. I encourage you to make up your own mind about things, and that's to me what these books do. They make you think about things, they make you question things, and from that they make you find your truth yourself, because everyone has their own truth and everyone's own truth is true. That's it. I just wanted to get it out there and warn you. No, I wanted to disclaim it. Is that a word? I wanted to disclaim it. Disclaim it. I've disclaimed it. Let's just talk about it. So, the first book, I actually lent it to a friend, the first book. So if you're the friend who's watching this, you know who you are. But the first book is called The 4 Agreements. This is a book that I think everyone has heard of. Everyone has heard of this book. It's written by Miguel Ruiz. The book is basically about the 4 agreements that every person should live by. And the 4 agreements that can change your life. They can change your life. It's just hard to live by them because you have to really question everything that you've ever thought. And you have to then monitor every thought. And then you have to turn around that thought. It's difficult, but it can really change your life. So I will just read the 4 agreements for you. First one is be impeccable with your word. This agreement is really about not gossiping about anyone. Because your word, the word with the big W, or the more toxic things you say about people, the more toxic things you will get back. When you gossip about someone, it doesn't feel good. Sometimes you gossip with an intent to get it out your system, to get things that you have bottled up out of your system. Let's say just someone has really mistreated you and you want to say that to someone. You just want to get it out of you. And it does help to speak about it, it does. If we combine this with another agreement, because another agreement is, the second agreement is don't take anything personally. If you don't take anything personally, there's really nothing to gossip about, right? Because you don't take it personally, and because you don't let yourself be affected by it. So you're not affected by it, so it doesn't really do anything to you. And so it doesn't do anything to you, so you don't have it bottled up, so you don't need to get it out. So you're always impeccable with your word. And what they mean by that is you say what you mean because you mean what you say. You think twice about saying things because you know it can hurt someone, you know it can hurt yourself. Even though we have the expression, sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you. It's fine, but is it really true? I mean, I was bullied as a kid. Their words really hurted me. So a lot of pain could be avoided if people hadn't said those words to me. And the second agreement is don't take anything personally. And this agreement, if you implement this in your life, it can really change your life for the better. Miguel Ruiz says it in his book. Everyone lives in a dream. These dreams kind of coexist together next to each other. The world is a mirror reflection of yourself. Nothing that other people do has anything to do with you, which I totally agree with and believe in, because it's really true. When someone says something bad to me, about me, it's always a reflection of themselves. When someone's hurting, they take it out on me. It's always because they're insecure. Not a thing that someone does has something to do with you personally. The third agreement is, and this is one that I really had to learn and I'm still learning. And I read this book, about a few years ago, so it's really a process that you go through, is don't make assumptions. This agreement alone, he says it in his book, I think, can completely change your life. It encourages you to ask questions to people. We just assume things about people and then we say something, no, that assumption is wrong. They say something and it becomes a fight and then you both end up hurting. But this agreement alone, if you stick to it, can completely change your life, because it's hard to ask questions. We live in a society based on biases and judging people, and we have to look good every single day. I think that is slowly dying out as well, though. I think a lot of things have improved, obviously, but a lot of the things, yeah, they haven't. So with this agreement alone, you can completely change your mind. And the fourth agreement is actually sounds really simple. They all sound simple, but this one is the simplest, I think. It is always do your best. Your best can change from when you're healthy to when you're sick. So when you're sick, you don't feel good. Your best is slightly below your average than it would be if you feel at your best. But the idea here is to just always do your best. That's something that I remind myself of every day when I make my bed, or when I don't want to make my bed. I'm just like to myself, just always do your best. So just make your bed. And making your bed every day is also a really good tip, because if you haven't done anything else that day, you at least made your bed and your room looks much nicer if you just make your bed. But that's just an example. Just always do your best in whatever situation you might be in. As I said, I don't have it physically with me, I lent it to a friend, but this book is really thin and it's a light read and it's applicable to anyone's life, I think. So if you want a really thin self-help book, this is the one to get. The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F*** by Mark Manson. It's also not that thick, big. It doesn't have a lot of pages. It's a thin book. It reads really, really easily. Like, it reads really, really nice. He writes amazingly. I think I read it in 2 days or something. And this book really is about learning how to divide your energy. That's what he's saying. Because we all, every single day, wake up with this amount of energy. And if we give our F's, or our energy to the wrong things, then we drain ourselves. That's basically what this book is about. This book is also about to not take anything personally. The most beautiful thing about these books is they say exactly the same thing in a completely different way. And that's because all of our problems are kind of universal, right? In my opinion, we're all the same, going through different experiences, but we're all one race. We're the human race. You know, when you meet someone and they went through maybe a different thing, but the same premise. And let's just say two people have had a really difficult childhood with parents that basically just oppressed them and they couldn't be themselves, and they put their beliefs onto them. Those two people are bound to really click because they went through the same thing. That's just what I mean, is that we're all basically the same. We have our own essence though. We have our own unique essence. I do believe that, otherwise we would all be the same. We have our own unique essence and we have our own personality. Things that affect us are the same because we live in the same world. And we might have different circumstances, but people are bound to have the same experiences. So, I don't know what I want to say, but this book is so easily written. After this I'm going to be talking about law of attraction and that kind of stuff. But if you're not really into that, the 4 agreements and this book are really two of the best books you can possess, in my opinion. Because these books, they talk about the basis of everything. They talk about really easy things that you can implement in your life. And your life will only get better. Really easy to understand, really easy to read. Love this book. I also have his book which I haven't read that, but so this book, Everything's a book about hope. Haven't read it yet, will read it. Also Mark Manson, a great writer. Third book is Ask and It Is Given by Esther and Jerry Hicks. This book is basically about the law of attraction. Esther is a woman who is a medium and receives a social thought form. Look that up, what that is. Receives a social thought form called Abraham, in which she gives advice to people who need help. And she has talks, she goes on stage, has CDs that people listen to. She's been in the game for like, I don't know how many years, but it's been a long time. This book basically talks about the law of attraction, and also about ask and it is given. Which means anything that you put your focus on, you attract into your experience. Which is, if you've never heard of it, a really dumb, weird way to look at things, because we live in a 3D reality in which we first of all perceive things and then we believe it. This book basically talks about believing the things and then perceiving them. If you focus your attention on anything, you will attract it into your experience. That is the base premise of the book. This is also a really, for me at least, a really light read. It reads really easily. I'm not going to go into too much detail about this book because I could literally talk for hours about this book. She also has a YouTube channel. I will link everything down below. For me, every time I have a problem, I YouTube search the problem and then Abraham Hicks, because she goes under Abraham Hicks because her last name is Hicks. She receives Abraham, so Abraham Hicks. I always feel better when I watch the video in which she talks, because I think a lot of people have uploaded all of her talks with an array of problems. So, really good book. Oh, and I also have a deck of relationship cards. Not only love, it's because relationships with other people are the basis of everything we experience, right? You feel because of other people, you feel good because of other people. But she also is a big advocate of focusing on yourself. Oh, I'm going to be drawing a card, by the way, because I sometimes do that every single day to just have some sort of advice card for myself. So this is a card I can focus on what I do want in a relationship. Yeah, this is also saying, by focusing upon the wanted characteristics of those around you, you train your vibrational offering to match only the best in them. And then the law of attraction can no longer match you up with the worst in them. When you focus upon the worst of them and train your vibrational offering to match only the worst in them, the law of attraction can no longer match you up with the best of them. Basically saying, if you see the best in people, that's the only thing you can see, and that's the only thing how they will behave. The fourth book is Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza. He's an international lecturer, he's a researcher, he's a corporate consultant, and he's an author and he's an educator. He gives a lot of talks as well, just like Abraham Hicks. He doesn't receive a social thought form or an awareness or whatever. We have Ask and It Is Given by Jerry and Esther Hicks, and then we have Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza. He talks about the same thing. He also talks a lot about the law of attraction, but he focuses more upon the scientific sides of those things. So you have Esther Hicks or Abraham Hicks, who talks about really the energetic, the vibrational side of things. And he does so as well, but he says it in a way that your scientific brain can understand. I mean, he really explains a lot about energies, how they work, and this really, really interesting, groundbreaking book. But then again, as I said, you really don't have to believe it, but you have to have an open mind with the book and this book. An open mind is necessary, because it doesn't really go against everything that Western science is saying. It also doesn't really support everything that it's saying. So that's what I mean by controversial topics. So this book is really, I'm still reading this book, and he also has a lot of his results from his research in here, and it's about like brain waves and stuff, and it's just really interesting to have the sort of the law of attraction or energies, what everyone's always saying, like, oh, everything is energy. You know what Nikola Tesla said, if you want to know the secrets of the universe, you have to think in terms of energy, frequency and vibrations. Well, he actually just explains that, which is nice, as someone who really dives deep into those things, to have an explanation about those things. And he does it in a very easy way. He also, marks by these things right here, gives you a few meditation techniques to become healthy, become supernatural. It's also become having a healthy body and becoming the premise that everything you think has a direct influence on every single organ, every single part of your body. That's really what it's about. And by those meditation techniques, you can kind of turn those around. And because he really says that, here it talks about how your personality becomes your personal reality. So everything you think directly affects your body, which also directly affects everything around you, which is also what Esther Hicks is saying, but he also says. And the fifth book is The Medical Medium by Anthony Williams. Most people have heard of him as well. This can be a very controversial book because it goes against, it's a wrong wording. It doesn't support Western medicine. But then again, Western medicine doesn't support this. This basically says you haven't attracted your disease, which kind of goes against what Esther Hicks and what Dr. Joe Dispenza are saying, but also really don't. You haven't attracted your disease, you have acquired them through pollution in your environment. And everyone is affected by that pollution because of the Industrial Revolution and because of, you know, we burn waste, we drive in cars, we inhale cigarette smoke, what else do? Our world is polluted. And that's why we are sick, and that's why almost all of our illnesses fall under mystery illnesses. I mean, I've had mystery migraines. That's what really motivated me to get this book, because I went to hospitals, which they didn't really find anything. Then I got offered medication, and I turned down that medication because what's the point of me of taking the medication if you don't know what it is, if it isn't meant for that, and it just seemed silly. The medical medium is also a medium, obviously medical medium, a receiver of a spirit. I think it's what's called spirit of compassion, I think. The spirit of compassion. The difference with him and most mediums hear the voice in their head. He hears it directly outside of his head. And he has heard this since he was a child, and he first diagnosed his grandma with lung cancer. Then his grandma went to the doctor a few weeks later and she had lung cancer. And then he started hearing everyone's illnesses and couldn't really do anything about them. If you want to read everything, it's in the book. It's really interesting. And in this book you will find detoxes, and he has popularized celery juice. It's about using foods to cleanse your body and to get those illnesses out of your body, because they're not genetic, but the pollution is genetic. If your grandma has pollution in her body, you're most likely to have pollution in your body. This book really has some controversial opinions, because they say that Alzheimer's is curable, which in modern Western medicine it isn't, and they say that autism is curable, which in modern Western medicine it isn't. But I like it because they say everything is curable. Anthony Williams and the Spirit of Compassion say that everything is curable. And I like that a lot better than we don't know what to do about it. Here you have some medication. And this is a list of things that we just follow with every patient because we don't know what else to do. Which, I'm not saying that doctors are bad people. I'm not saying that at all. Doctors are here to help us, otherwise they wouldn't have become doctors. And hospital workers. Everyone is here to help us. They're just misinformed. Probably. As I'm saying, controversial. So, these are the books I recommend you. I really hope it helped you. If you're looking to buy some self-improvement books, these for me really tick off every single part of the spectrum that you want to research on. You know, medical, mental, body, mind, soul. You know, if everything's in balance, then you are in balance. If you don't agree with anything and if nothing resonates with you, then just don't believe a word I'm saying. That's up to you. Do your own research on things. Find out what helps you. I really want to thank you for watching. If you've made it this far, I really don't know how long this video has gone on, but thank you for watching, and I'm really grateful that you've made it this far. So thank you and goodbye.